This meeting is being recorded.
Prabhuji, when I'm sharing, my microphone is going on mute.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Is my screen visible, Prabhuji?
Yeah, it's visible. We can
Okay,
see.
last time. Okay, sure. So last time when I shared, it went on mute, and it's saying that unless you stop sharing, it's not going to be unmuted. It said, but good that
Yeah, it's visible too.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining, and I'm sure, and then I'm confident that there are many. Every one of you are senior devotees. I'm like a menial servant here, and if I speak anything wrong, please forgive me. I'll do a small kirtan, and then we will go with the session. It's not rather a session, it's probably, we can call it a discussion, because I'm sure that whatever I'm going to speak, many of you or all of you might have already known it. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Govindana Vallabha Girivaranari, Jaya Govindana Vallabha Girivaranari, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Shyam, Jaya Jaya Sri Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Shyam, Jaya Jaya Sri Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Shyam, Jaya Jaya Sri Vrindavan Dham, Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Shyam, Jaya Jaya Sri Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Shyam, Jaya Jaya Sri Vrindavan Dham. Ram Sankirtan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnantimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Lita Sri Vishakhanvitam हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयितुं यत्कृपः तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुः दीनतारिणीं श्रीपरमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। ओम पितृपत्र सर्वोत्तमतपुण्ड्रीकक्षबाह्यान्तरशुचिः श्रीविष्णु श्रीविष्णु श्रीविष्णु। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। I sincerely and humbly prayed the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Srimati Radharani, all the Vaishnavas and all the assembled devotees to forgive me if I make any mistakes during the session. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay. Yeah. So today's topic is Rukmini's letter to Lord Krishna. So how many of us know or have gone through this chapter? I just wanted to know before starting the session. Prabhujis and Matajis, many of us might be knowing it, right?
Yeah, a little bit heard it, Prabhu, but not very thoroughly.
Yeah. Yeah. Santosh Prabhu, Ayer Prabhu.
Not so much, Prabhu.
Yeah. So this story is very familiar, but what I was trying to do is I was kind of trying to build a context around it. Like the story goes something like this. So there is liberation of Muchukunda, and then Krishna punishing Jarasandha, and then comes Rukmini's letter to Krishna, and then he kidnaps it. So there is a convergence between Muchkunda's liberation, and then comes defeating the Yavanas, and of course establishing Dwaraka also. And then Rukmini's love letter to Krishna, and that letter is very, I have taken a picture from Purna Prajnadas Prabhuji's book. So that letter is also very interesting. So we'll go through this. So the story starts something like this. Actually, Muchukunda is a forefather of, he belongs to Ikshvaku dynasty. He is a forefather of Lord Rama. What happens is, there happens a very big fight between Suras and Asuras, demons and demigods. And the during the fight, as usual, always, the Asuras win in the beginning, and then but at the end, by the help of the Supreme Lord, or by the sanctioning of the Supreme Lord, Suras win over Asuras, and then they gain back their seats and positions, right? So what happens is, I'm not going to details of why the fight happens and all, but what happens is, there happens a very great fight. So during that fight, what happens is, the demigods are about to be lost by the asuras, the demons, and the fight was so fierce that Indra also loses his throne, loses his seat, and then he literally, then he approaches Muchkunda, who is the who belongs to Ikshvaku dynasty. He is a forefather of Lord Shri Ram. And then what happens is, upon request of Indra, Muchkunda assumes the seat as a commander in chief for demigods. Now, before to this, there happens another story where he does some penance and austerity. Then Gargamuni bestows him a benediction, saying that he will be, liberated by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And in between, whatever happens, he had to take it. So, upon Indra's request, he agrees to become the commander in chief for the demigods. But when he was performing this commander in chief role, right, he loses a lot of things, like he loses his family, he loses his kingdom, and but he doesn't care about all those things. He simply sticks to the request of Indra, and then he stays there, and then he fights like anything, and he is very powerful. As we know that Ikshvaku dynasty is very powerful. No, no, close that door. So Ikshvaku dynasty is very powerful, right? So with whatever, professor, whatever, right? So he actually helps demigods a lot, and then demigods become very happy because Muchkunda is very powerful, and he could actually single-handedly handle many asuras. So, and on top of that, he was given the position of a commander in chief, and on top of that, he is a great devotee of Lord, the Supreme Lord, right? With all these things coming together, he is the right fit for the position. Especially he is the right fit because he obeys the orders of the Supreme Lord, and he is a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. So that alone is sufficient, that the demons cannot defeat Muchkunda. So he takes great power, and then he becomes a great shield for demons to win over the demigods. And at that time, but at the end, he had to go back, right? He had to go back to his kingdom, and then assume his responsibilities. So he is a kind of for the time being, he assumes this commander in chief responsibility. Meanwhile, what happens is, Lord Shiva and Parvati together give birth to Kartikeya, right? And then Kartikeya gets trained with all his capacity, within all his capacities, to become fit for the commander in chief. We know that story. That's the other part of it, right? So Kartikeya becomes fit for commander in chief. When Kartikeya comes, then Muchkunda relaxes, and Kartikeya assumes again. He again, being the son of Lord Shiva, he's equally capable, like Muchkunda. So he becomes commander in chief. He assumes commander in chief role, and then Muchkunda retires from that role. At that time, Indra requests Muchkunda, with folded hands. He says that you are a great savior in need, right? It was really a devastating situation for demigods, and Muchkunda helped them, right? So Indra gives, and when Indra, Brahma, everyone comes there, including Shiva comes there, they wanted to bestow a benediction to Muchkunda. And then they see, I mean, this is an interesting statement by Indra here. Indra and other demigods here, what they say is, we can give you everything other than liberation. We know why they cannot give liberation or mukti. Mukti can be given only by the Supreme Lord. Liberation can be given only by the Supreme Lord. So knowing that, the demigods tell Muchkunda that, we can give anything that you ask, anything in all the 14 planetary systems, except for liberation. And in fact, they mentioned, there is a statement here, I will read it from the book. So what it says is, it says that all good fortune to you. Now please accept a benediction from us. Demigods are speaking. All benediction to you. Please accept a benediction. All good fortune to you. Now please accept a benediction from us. Anything except liberation. For only the Supreme Lord Vishnu can bestow that. So what they're saying is, we will give anything except liberation. For only the Supreme Lord Vishnu can bestow that. So benediction can be given only by the Vishnu, right? And after saying that, Muchkunda, what he understood that, liberation cannot be given by the demigods. Then he asks for something. So if you look at it, he has been fighting sleepless nights, right? So he had to be literally, to actually safeguard demons. He had to spend sleepless. He did not sleep, in fact, for so many years during that fight. So he asks, I wanted to get an undisturbed sleep. So when he asks for this undisturbed sleep, he puts one more condition, right? Anyone who comes untimely while I am sleeping should be, the moment I open the eyes, he should be burnt into ashes. So this is the benediction that he asked the demigods, and demigods say Tathastu, because it is, they have safeguarded all the demigods. Muchkunda has saved all the demigods during the war, right? So they are bound to give whatever he asks, other than liberation, and they give that benediction. So now Muchkunda goes to a cave, right? Now Muchkunda goes to a cave and then sleeps over there, and he sleeps for years and years, right? So he's from Ikshvaku dynasty, which is like a Treta Yuga, right? And then he sleeps till Dwapara Yuga. And then when he was sleeping, that sleep continues. This is the story. We will put a comma there for this story. So Muchkunda is sleeping in a cave with a benediction that he can sleep till the time he wants to sleep, and then anyone who comes untimely and then disturbs his sleep will be burnt into ashes. This is the story of Muchkunda. Now we'll go to another track of the story. That is, the Krishna's pastime with Jarasandha and Kalayavana. It's a kind of war and all, right? So now what happens is, after Kamsa was killed, Jarasandha was uncle of father-in-law of Kamsa, right? So he gets very aggravated, and he gets so aggravated that he builds so much of envy on Krishna. Now he starts fighting against Mathura. Right now, Krishna doesn't want to disturb all people in Mathura. So what he does is, he builds another very beautiful city called Dwaraka, because and then move all of them, all the appliances and people to Dwaraka. Now Jarasandha doesn't give it, so he keeps fighting, and fighting. Right? That way he fights 17 times. Despite of fighting for 17 times, he always made it in dust. Krishna is so powerful. So during the fight with Jarasandha always loses. Like this, Jarasandha attacks Mathura 17 times. And then finally, before giving up, what he does is, he wants to take help from Kalayavana. Kalayavana is the king of Yavanas. So Kalayavana is very powerful, and he attacks. This time he attacks Mathura with 3 million people. Right, with 3 million people he attacks. Now Krishna thinks, why to actually bleed so many people? So he gets a very nice idea. The idea is, he walks out from Mathura. Right. So this is a story that happens between Kalayavana and Krishna. So the moment Krishna sees Kalayavana, he comes out of the palace and then walks towards the forests, right? Then Kalayavana follows Krishna. He follows, and then he instigates Krishna so much, he even dares to tell that, you're from Yadu dynasty. You're not supposed to show back during the war. All these things he tells to Krishna. So, but Krishna doesn't care. He just keeps on walking, and it always feels that, he just arm distance. It always feels to Kalayavana that Krishna is just an arm distance to Kalayavana. So he tries to, and in fact he does a lot of chastise. It is written that So it is written that, you know, Kalivana instigates him so much, you are going like a cowherd boy, right? So you're running like a coward guy. You know, it is not suitable for Yadu dynasty. Like that, he chastises him a lot. But Krishna doesn't care. He just keeps walking into the mountains and caves, and he walks, and he takes this Kalivana to a place where there is that mountain, right? That cave. Which cave was that? The cave was Muchukunda's cave, where Muchukunda was sleeping, right? And it is full of dark because Muchukunda had chosen a place where, you know, no light, no sound, nothing, right? So the cave was so dark, and Kalivana was taken there. When Kalivana was taken there, um, there will be a sleeping saint there. That saint is none other than Muchkunda. But what happens? It is very dark in place, right? So Kalevan thinks that Lord himself is sleeping in that way. In fact, when before to even that, when Krishna was coming out, right? See, I mean, how the passion or the ignorance covers someone's eyes. So when Krishna was coming out of the palace, Kalevana sees him. If you look at it, he has gotten that Shankachakra Gada Padma, and then Vaijayanti Mala around his neck, and Kaustava Mani, Kaustava Javel at his heart, and then that sharp, very shark-like earrings. He was mentioned. He was described like this. When Krishna comes out, Kaliyavana sees him with a peacock feather on the forehead, and then Kaustava Javel on the heart, and then shark-like sharp earrings, and Shankachakra Gada Padma, and then, you know, he is in fact gives darshan to him as a 400 form, not in 200 Krishna's form, right? So looking at that, he understands that this is Sri Krishna, right? So he has gotten that. I mean, very nicely. Krishna's descriptions are always very nice, right? So when you hear the descriptions, like, you know, okay, peacock, Krishna. In fact, Krishna, the way Krishna is described, he uses everything around him in the material world. A peacock feather on the forehead, and then shark-like earrings, and then you know, the flute is made up of a bamboo stick, and then which is stuck to his waist belt, and he has a horn in his hand that is made up of buffalo's uh, buffalo's then trunk, right? So what is it called? Buffalo's horn. So the horn that he holds is made up of buffalo's horn, the kummu, right? So like this, Krishna uses all the material things, and then he, in fact, it is described that when Kalyavana looks at Krishna in his 400 form, he looks even richer than the Supreme Lord Vishnu, right? That's how he looks, and he understands that he is Supreme Lord. Then he starts following, and see, now the covering comes. Krishna says, you know, Mama Maya Duryadhyaya, no one can actually defeat Krishna's Maya. The Maya, Kaliyavana is covered with so much Maya that he can't even realize that he's so powerful. He can see with his eyes that he's more opulent than Lord Vishnu, but still he wants to fight with Krishna, right? So Jarasandha, Kansa, of course, Kansa, Jarasandha, Kalyavana, these are all people whose intelligence is covered with Maya, and it becomes transformed into ignorance, right? So these people are very ignorant, and despite of seeing Krishna in his full opulence form, he tries to instigate Krishna, saying that you are from Yadu dynasty, you know, you cannot run away from fights and all, right? And yeah, you can read, and then Krishna is very nicely described when he comes out of the palace, and when Kalyavana sees him. So finally, they walk towards that cave, and when Krishna enters into the cave, Kalyavana also follows Krishna, and then Krishna hides in one place, and Kalyavana sees one saintly person sleeping. Now again, you know, his eyes are covered with Maya, because of which he thinks of that saint as Krishna, because he had to fight with Krishna, right? Now he kicks that saint very hard, right? That saint is none other than Muchkunda, who has gotten benediction from the divine, the demigods. Uh, what was the benediction? Anyone who disturbs him untimely during his sleep, the moment Muchkanda opens his eyes, the person who disturbs him will be burnt into ashes, right? So if you look at here, so if you look at, we can now, the moment Muchkunda was killed, he gets up, thinking that who has disturbed me, right? And when he looks at the person, that Kalyavana is literally burnt into ashes, right? And when he was burnt into ashes, this is a just what do you call? This is we can think of this one as a saintly person coming into our life to burn the ignorance, right? So here, Kalyavana is completely burnt into ashes, or in another way, the ignorance is completely burnt into ashes. An ignorant person has disturbed a devotee of the Supreme Lord, and the devotee is so powerful, the ignorance along with the person is completely burnt into ashes over here. And you can see the Supreme Lord over there, right? Now, Kalyavana actually makes nice prayers. I will just read it from the book. The prayers that are the discussion that happens between the Supreme Lord and Kalyavana. Again, the Supreme Lord and the Muchkunda. Again, as we discussed in the beginning, right? Muchkunda is a great devotee of the Supreme Lord, right? As per Gargmuni's prediction, he will be liberated by the Supreme Lord. He takes darshan of the Supreme Lord, and then he gets liberated by Supreme Lord, right? So now I will just read through the book from Purna Pragyan Das Prabhuji's book, where there happens a discussion between Muchukunda and the Supreme Lord. Right here again, Muchkunda sees the Supreme Lord in his four hands form, and he sees him with in the book it is said that on his chest was the mark of Srivatsa, and around his neck a brilliant Kaustubh gem and a Vaijayanti garland. The Lord's handsome smiling face was adorned with shark-shaped earrings and an affectionate glance, and the beauty of his youthful form was unexcelled. So Krishna is always in his youthful form, right? So he gives darshan to Muchkunda in his youthful form. And Muchkunda further continues, "Who are you that have come to this cave, walking on the thorny ground with feet as soft as lotus petals? Perhaps you are one of the powerful controllers, such as the god of fire, the sun, or the moon. But in fact, I think that you are the supreme personality of Godhead, because your effulgence drives away the darkness in the cave." So here, 2 points are very important here. One is he mentions Muchkunda describes Krishna's lotus feet as very soft, and he even further goes to extend, he shows his compassion to the difficulties that Krishna might have faced during his journey towards this cave. Two things he mentions: one, your feet might have got hurt because of the thorns that are there in this forest while walking towards this cave. And second thing that he mentions is, you're like a sun or a moon. At the end, finally, he concludes that you may be the supreme personality of Godhead, because even sun and the moon cannot give so much effulgence which actually can remove the darkness of the cave. Because he went into the cave, which is so dark, even sun and moon cannot give light in that cave. Right? Why he had to go into such a dark cave? Because he doesn't want to be disturbed in that for his sleep. So he wanted to have an undisturbed sleep, right? So even he makes sure that even sun and moon cannot give light over there. So such a kind of dark cave he enters, and there the appearance of Supreme Lord gives light there. Right. So here 2 points are very important. His passion, his compassion to our devotion to Krishna, saying that his feet are so soft, and the soil or the thrones on which he has walked might have hurt them. That is one thing which actually shows his devotion to the Supreme Lord. And second thing is, he has a firm conviction that he is none other than the Supreme Lord, because no one other than Supreme Lord can remove the darkness in the cave, right? So these two things are something very important for a devotee who wants to progress in his devotional service. We need to have, I mean, why I'm actually talking about this is, it is said that we can develop love only towards things that we serve. The more service, for example, many, if someone comes to us and asks, whom do you love the most? Either you, most of the times you say your children, right? And who do you take care? Again, children. Because if you look at it, we serve our children so much, and when the service happens, the love is developed. Service and love are not, they're not different. Without service, you cannot expect to develop love towards something, right? Even it is said that in one of the lectures of Radheshyam Prabhuji, it is said that we are, I mean, it is anxiety is the mode of is in the mode of ignorance, but anxiety for the Supreme Lord is in the mode of Suddha Sattvaguna, which means you might even have to feel anxiety to get up in the morning to serve the Lord, right? So those devotees, I have seen few people in Puridam who actually are so tensed to sleep early in the evening. I'll just get some water. Sucheta, can you get some water? So near the dhams, right? Even in Brajavasis, they take so much anxiety. And even for that matter, there are few congregations where they don't. I mean, I know a few congregations in and around Hyderabad. They don't have any problems in the evening. because they're so anxious that they want to attend Mangalarti in the morning, right? So even anxiety in the mode of Suddha Sattva is nothing but the anxiety for serving the Supreme Lord, or Radha and Krishna, or to serve the devotees, right? So here, Muchkunda is undergoing anxiety, thinking that he is actually the thrones and all the stones and all might have hurt the Supreme Lord. So that kind of anxiety is always needed. This is what was told in one of the lectures of Radheshyam Prabhuji, right? So with that anxiety and service attitude, we develop love and affection. For that matter, when we have to send our children to school, also the same kind of anxiety we undergo, right? We might have to pack box. Even if the school provides food, you want to feed your children something and then send to school, because you're not sure whether they're going to eat the food that is provided there in the school or not. So you undergo so much of anxiety to serve your children. Likewise, we have to undergo anxiety to serve the deities also. That is where the love develops. So where there is no service, there is no love. That's why even Prabhupada says it is devotional service. It is not devotion to Supreme Lord and Vaishnavas. It is devotional service. That service is something that actually gives rise to the love and affection towards our children or towards the Supreme Lord, and that's how the love is developed, right? So here it is very clear that Muchkunda has a lot of affection towards Lord. That's why he's so compassionate and taking anxiety, thinking that his lotus feet might have got hurt during the walk. And then his second thing is, from love develops in the Navveda Bhakti, right? So from the love develops firm conviction and attachment to the service object. So whichever object that we are serving, the conviction and faith and commitment develops, right? From love, from service develops love, from love develops commitment and attachment, right? To whichever we, so which means service in turn gives rise to attachment. So the more we serve our children, the more we get attached to our children. The more we serve the Supreme Lord, the more we get attached to the Supreme Lord. So this attachment and commitment is very clear from Muchkunda's words. The second thing that he said is, you are none other than Supreme Lord, because no one other than Supreme Lord can actually remove the darkness in the cave, right? Then the Supreme Lord says, starts talking in this way, right? So what the Supreme Lord says, in fact, Muchkunda further continues, right? Long ago, Brahma requested me to destroy the demons burdening the earth, and so I have descended in Yadu dynasty as a son of Vasudeva. So Krishna is started speaking. So in fact, Muchkunda asks Krishna to talk further about himself. Then Krishna introduces himself. I have taken innumerable births with innumerable names, and indeed I cannot count them all. Even great sages cannot reach the limit of description of my pastimes. But now, yeah, Krishna is further continuing. Great sages cannot reach me, cannot reach the limit of description of my names. So we have gotten Astotram, which is like 8, and then 108 names, and then we have got that Sahasra, Vishnu Sahasra names. So there are 1,000 names, but these names are not sufficient enough to actually describe Krishna's pastimes. Sages in those days, if we know, right, Kali Yuga is 120 years lifetime, and there were like people who saints who used to live for lakhs of years, right? Even those sages and saints who lived for lakhs of years cannot describe Krishna's name, form, and pastimes. That is the capacity of Krishna's name, form, and pastime, right? So Krishna himself is introducing to Muchkunda out of his mercy, right? He's saying, even great sages cannot reach the limit of description of my pastimes, but nonetheless, I shall tell you about my current birth. Long ago, Brahma requested me to destroy the demons burdening the earth, and so I have descended in the Yadu dynasty as the son of Vasudeva. I mean, previously, a few days back, we have given the test, right? Krishna says, so, what was the sloka we gave in test? Dharma samsthapanardaya sambhavami yuge, right? So in that sloka, Krishna comes for 3 reasons: to annihilate to annihilate the demons, and safeguard the pious, and to re-establish the dharma. These are the 3 dharma samsthapanadaya sambhavami yuge, he says, right? So to do these 3 things, he comes. And when the religious succession is lost, Krishna comes into this in one day of Brahma, right? So that's what he's saying here. Brahma requested me to destroy the demons burdening the earth, and so I have descended in Yadu dynasty as the son of Vasudeva. In your past life, you had prayed me, and so I have now come here to show you mercy. Please take from me whatever benediction you, this is very important here. Krishna says, please take from me whatever benediction you deserve. For one who has satisfied me need not ever take birth again. So Krishna is actually tempting Muchkunda. If you look at here, the discussion between Krishna and Muchkunda, right? Krishna is saying, take whatever you want from me. You tell me, you name something. Because if we remember, the demigods gave a benediction to Muchkunda, saying that take anything other than liberation, because liberation can be provided only by the Supreme Lord, is what Muchkunda said. So he is progressing step by step. And in this step, Muchkunda, while Krishna, gave him his darshan, he's telling that ask anything, because Krishna can give anything, right? Maya Jakshana Prakriti. And so Krishna promises, Krishna can give anything. In fact, he gave Dhruvaloka to Dhruv Maharaj, right? Now he is tempting Muchkunda to ask a benediction, whatever he wants. Now Muchkunda says, right? Muchkunda bowed down at the Lord's lotus feet while remembering how in the past Gargamuni had predicted that he would meet the Supreme Lord Narayana. Muchkunda said, in this world, everyone is bewildered by your illusory energy. So Muchkunda understood, that the trap that Krishna is trying to put, or the instigation that Krishna is trying over Muchkunda. He says, in this world, everyone is bewildered by your illusory energy, being unaware of their real benefits. They do not worship you, but instead seek happiness by entangling themselves in family affairs, which are actually sources of all miseries. How does Muchkunda know this? Muchkunda has already enjoyed, the kingly opulences, enjoyed families, wives, and he has taken care of his children. And at the same time, he performed devotional service also to the Supreme Lord. So Muchkunda is a realized soul, because he has enjoyed all those things, and finally he could not find happiness in any of those things. That's where he's speaking words like a known person. He's saying that although I had obtained the rare of human form of life, I wasted my time becoming more and more intoxicated by kingly opulences, identifying the more mortal body as self. Although it is material object like a pot or a wall, I became attached to children, wives, wealth, and land, and thus suffered endless anxiety, thinking myself a God among men. So he's even mentioning that I try to even lord over the material nature. He's saying that I was thinking myself as a God among men. I traveled the earth surrounded by my army, and thus disregarded you due to my deluded pride. Right. So Muchkunda is actually mentioning all the things that he has undergone. Right. He says, I enjoyed kingdom, I enjoyed wives, I had children, I have taken care of them, and with so much of pride, trying to lord over the material nature, I have roamed over this entire earth with all my army, is what Muchkunda is saying. And then he's further saying, a man obsessed with the thoughts of what he thinks needs to be done, who is intensely greedy and who delights in sense enjoyment, is suddenly confronted by you. So finally, who is Vasudevam Sarvamiti, right? So finally, he's saying that a person who enjoys like that will be finally confronted by you, and who actually can defeat any such kind of pride and ignorance, right? Then he's further continuing. I think that you have shown me your mercy, for my attachment to my kingdom has somehow ceased. His attachment to his kingdom has gone. Right. And then he's further continuing, oh all-powerful one, I desire no benediction other than service to your lotus feet. What enlightened a person who worships? You would choose a boon that causes his bondage. Therefore, O Lord, having put aside all the objects of material desires, I am approaching you for shelter. For so long I have been pained by troubles in this world, and have been burning with lamentation. Therefore, O Supreme Soul, please protect me, for by good fortune I have approached your lotus feet. Right. So finally saying that Sarvadharman Parchajyam Amekam Sarnam Raja. So that instruction is what he is following. He's saying that I want to leave everything, just give me shelter at your lotus feet, is what he's saying. Then Krishna, I don't want to further read what Krishna says and all, but what Krishna says at this point in time to Muchkunda is, he tells that, you have to, he has done so many, I wouldn't call them sins. Being a Kshatriya, he might have fought so many people, so many entities, so many living entities, and then he might have killed so many living entities. So what Krishna says after this is, you have fought with so many people and have killed so many people. So you have to burn your bad karma. For that, you have to perform austerity and penance. So Krishna tells Muchkunda to go over and then perform austerity and penance, right? So then Muchkunda further continues. He circumambulates Lord Krishna, and he does Dandavat Pranam. He bows down to him and then goes to a cave, right? And then after that, he arrives at Gandhamadana Mountain. and then Muchkunda then enters Badrika ashram, right? So if someone asks us what is the proof that there is Badrika ashram, we can talk about this, right? Muchkunda circumambulates Krishna, and then he bows down to him, and then leaves to perform austerity and penance, and finally reaches the Gandhamadana Parvat, and then he goes to Badrika ashram. I think I have the slide. Yeah, this is the place where Muchkunda rested. This is located in Muchkunda caves. The caves are further there right now, and it is in the district of Lalitpur in Uttar Pradesh. Right. These are some pictures I could collect. Right. Yeah. This is one story of it. So this is a convergence between the story of Muchukunda and killing of Kalayavana, right? So when Muchukunda was performing all these austerities and penance, now Krishna goes back and then fights with the rest of the Yavanas and collects all those what do you call opulences from those Yavana soldiers, and then he takes them all of them to Dwarka, right? Because he doesn't want to disturb Mathura anymore, so he takes all those things to Dwarka. Now starts the other story, right? There was a king named Bhishmaka, the ruler of Vidarbha, right? He has gotten 5 sons and 1 daughter, right? So Vidarbha was ruled by a king named Bhishmaka. Bhishmaka is the father of actually Rukmini. So he got 5 sons and 1 daughter. The daughter is none other than Rukmini, who is none other than the avatar of goddess Lakshmi, right? So everyone is now every time Narada comes or any other sages and saints come, they actually praise and talk about Krishna a lot near in the Vidarbha kingdom near Bhishmaka palace, right? So Narada and other saints, anyone who, because they know what has been predicted. It is predicted that Rukmini, the goddess of fortune, is gonna marry Krishna. So rest all are like pastimes, right? So during this pastime, Narada and all other sages, when they come to Bhishmaka palace, they praise a lot about Krishna, his glories, his beauty, form, name, fame, and everything. They praises. At that time, Rukmini falls off for Krishna's beauty, right? So she starts contemplating on Krishna's name, form, and features, and then she starts loving Krishna, right? She builds so much love and affection. She wanted to marry Krishna. Then there is an arrangement, right? So Bhishmaka also thinks that Krishna would be the right husband for Rukmini, and everyone is happy with that. But Rukmi, right, the eldest son of Bhishma, was not okay with that, right? So Rukmi actually puts a stop, and then he wants Rukmini. He doesn't. He has a lot of envy towards Krishna, right? The entire Bhishmaka's family is ready to give Rukmini to Krishna, except for Rukmi. So what is the problem with Rukmi? Rukmi wants um, uh, Rukmini to be married to Shishupal. So this is the problem comes. Now what happens is Rukmini is so lost, and then the moment Rukmini hears this, she faints off, and then she comes back into her consciousness. That is when she writes a love letter to Krishna. So before this, probably we might have to talk about one another important thing over here. So Rukmini writes a love letter and hands over that to a Brahmana, and tells that Brahmana, go and give this to Supreme Lord Krishna, right? So Brahmana takes the responsibility of handing that letter over to uh, Krishna, and then he goes to hand this letter over to Krishna. The moment he goes, Krishna was again, in that peacock feather on his forehead, and Vaijayanti mala around his neck, and Kaustubha jewel, flute, and the buffalo trunks horn, all those things he wears. And then the moment he sees Brahmana, see, look at the kind of examples that Krishna is setting over here. Looking at the Brahman, he gets out of his golden throne. He gets out of his golden throne and he gives that throne to Brahmana, right? Because if you look, I mean, we remember that sloka, right? Namo Brahmane Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaicha, right? So Krishna is one who actually protects Brahmanas, right? And he doesn't just protect, he even gives a lot of respect to Brahmanas. The moment he sees a Brahmana, right, he gets out of his golden throne and then makes the Brahmana sit on the throne. And then he asks, how was your journey and what you've done and all. And even he doesn't stop there. He further washes his feet, and then he makes his Brahmana's foot put on his lap, right? Krishna takes Brahmana's feet and then puts on his lap and then starts massaging. And this is really written in Bhagavatam. So imagine, like, and Brahmana knows that he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. But to set the right example, though he prays inside the Brahmana prays inside his heart that, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he accepts the service that is given to him. He accepts the service that Krishna offers to him. So he accepts it, and Krishna puts Brahmana's legs on his lap, and then he starts massaging, right? So imagine, now we are so worried, or when you're given a bad feedback during your appraisal, the as Leland Prabhu says, the snake comes out, right? Who are you to give me a bad appraisal, right? So we always should remember, one way, this devotional service actually teaches us how to grow in our life, not only in spiritual not only in spiritual path, even material path, right? So I mean, when I do interviews, or try to attend the blitzes, right, I look at two things. One is the attitude, and another one is their analytical skill. I keep analytical skills as second priority while putting the attitude forward, right? So when I say attitude towards being openness to learn, being openness to accept, being openness to give a comfort zone to other team members. These are all the things that you don't find in Kali Yuga now. I mean, not exactly in Kali Yuga, in current corporate world, right? So before to coming to this satsangs, I was like, used to have percentage of pride inside that, I'm from so and so college, so and so this, I have gotten so much of experience, with so much of grades and all. But over time, in the last probably 6-7 years, I could learn so many things materially. Those things are helping me progress materially, not just spiritually, right? You need to be like Trinadapi Sunichana Tararapi Sahishnana. That is something that many people look at, right? So even for that matter, when there happened a discussion between Duryodhana, Arjuna, and Krishna, why part of, Krishna gave his favor to Arjuna because Arjuna was sitting at the feet and Duryodhana was sitting at the head of Krishna, right? So these things are very, very, very important. So spiritual, this devotional service, being in this congregation, I've learned so many good things. How to be humble, how to be tolerant, how to actually, release your weapons when needed, and how to be firm, and how to maintain certain things at arm distance, and how to actually go close. The nectar of instruction versus talk about, right, Dadati principle, how to actually, whom to reveal our heart, and from whom we can actually inquire secrets, or inquire, or give a comfort zone to your friends, right? So devotional service just doesn't teach how to progress in spiritual path. Along with that, it actually talks about how to progress materially also. That is the advantage and the good things that we have in this devotional service, right? So coming back, Krishna is messaging the Brahmana's feet, right? If Krishna is messaging, what to speak of us? Why can't we massage our boss, our friend's feet? It doesn't just, you know, make you humble. At the same time, it kind of gives an opportunity for the other person to actually serve back to us, right? So this always, it's not like take and take. In Kali Yuga, everything is take and take, but we should always follow give and take. For that matter, we should go back one step and say give and give. So when you give and give, the take and take becomes 4 times. So once you say give and give, the take becomes take, 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 take. Not like give and take, or take and take. In Kali Yuga, everything is take and take. Sri Gopal Prabhu shares, it's take and take in Kali Yuga, right? So when Krishna shows love towards Brahmana, and of course, it is said that when Brahmanas are happy, when the cows are happy, that kingdom is going to flourish in all the opulences, right? So Krishna very well knows that, and he wanted to set an example to this to the world, to the people in this material world. So he massages Brahmana's feet, and then Brahmana blesses Krishna to flourish further, well, to have all the Astalakshmi with him, right? And then Krishna further inquires, what is the reason for you coming over here? Then Brahmana, out of affection and care and concern, he actually tells Krishna that Rukmini has written a letter for you, and then he narrates the entire story. Bhishmika and his entire family wanted Rukmini to marry you, but Rukmini doesn't want because he wanted to be a favorite to Shishupal, right? So all these things happen, and then finally comes the letter of Rukmini. So we will read the letter, and then we will conclude the session, right? So we'll first read the letter. I think I put the slide one forward. So first we'll read the letter and come back to Krishna kidnapping Rukmini, right? So in response to Brahmana, Lord Krishna, in response, the Brahmana told Krishna about Rukmini. Then then related her letter as related her letter as follows. So the letter says, we can actually put some conscious effort here, understanding what Rukmini, the goddess Lakshmi, is trying to offer to Krishna. She says, "O beauty of the worlds, O Krishna, having heard of your qualities and your attractive appearance, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you." So it's a, you see here, Rukmini is writing letter. Usually boys write letter to girls, but here Rukmini is writing a letter to Krishna. So he mentioned that I have a shameless mind. Being a girl, still I'm opening up. So she's saying, I have fixed my so she's saying, oh beauty of the worlds. So she's describing Krishna as the most beautiful form of the world. Having heard of your qualities, I mean, till now Rukmini didn't see Krishna. She only heard from all the sages like Narada and other munis, right, about the pastimes, name, fame of Krishna. She says, your qualities and your attractive appearance, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see. Rukmini hasn't seen Krishna. She had just heard of Krishna and she has fixed her mind. Right? Such a kind of beauty Krishna has. So what to speak of when she really Krishna, what is going to happen? Right? And then further she is continuing. O Mukunda, you are equal only to yourself in lineage. There is no other person equal to Krishna. So she's saying you are equal only to yourself in lineage, character, beauty, knowledge, youthfulness, wealth, and influence. What aristocratic, sober mind, marriageable girl would not choose you as her husband, right? So what she's saying is, if anyone who comes to hear about your lineage, character, beauty, knowledge, youthfulness, wealth, and influence, she cannot have anyone other than you as her husband. And further, she's continuing, "Oh Almighty One, I have chosen you as my husband, and I surrender myself onto you. Please come swiftly and make me your wife." So when she was hearing, so this is what happens. So when Narada or sages have come there, so this is an analogy again between has taken shelter of a spiritual master and hearing about Krishna, right? So this is exactly the same analysis, right? So when the moment we take shelter, we hear more and more about Krishna, and the more and more we hear about Krishna, Krishna is non-different from his name, right? And his name, fame, and pastimes, right? So when we hear about the Krishna's pastimes from parrot-like mouths from spiritual masters, what happens is our love and affection towards Krishna goes up and up, and then we tend to marry Krishna, or we tend to bound to Krishna, or we tend to serve Krishna. This is how we actually progress in devotional service. We have to first hear from sages, our spiritual masters, our great devotees and Vaishnavas. That's how we actually can contemplate on his name, fame, and form, or whatever told here, lineage, character, beauty, knowledge, youthfulness, wealth, and influence. And that's how we actually develop the serving attitude towards Krishna. And from service comes love, and from love comes attachment, from attachment comes commitment, right? So this is how a person who wants to progress in spiritual life can actually take shelter of spiritual master, sages, and munis, so that they can actually tell what Krishna is, right? Here comes again, तद्विद्धि परिप्रश्नेन तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्षान्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिना तत्त्वदर्शिनः. So ज्ञानिना तत्त्वदर्शिनः, only the person who has seen the truth can actually give you the knowledge or the truth, right? So the sages, munis, spiritual master, and Vaishnavas have seen the truth by hearing from their spiritual masters. They have seen the truth, and they can actually render our upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshina. Only those people can actually give us knowledge. Listening from them, we would be able to develop love, affection, serving attitude, and therefore commitment and attachment towards the Supreme Lord and Radha, right? So here, Rukmini has heard from Narada Muni and other sages. That's how she has developed love and affection towards Krishna. And she here speaking as a realized person, right? She says, "Oh Almighty One, I have chosen you as my husband, and I surrender myself unto you. Please come and swiftly and make me your wife." Right? Actually, here comes one. I remember one joke Bal Govind Prabhu talks about. So one person asked Bal Govind Prabhu that why we remove mustache, and Bal Govind Prabhu said that there is no man, everyone is woman in Goloka, right? So everyone becomes wife of Krishna. Everyone tries to serve Krishna in one way or the other way. That's why the ISKCON devotees remove their mustache. Right? But anyway, that's on the funny part. So after hearing from our spiritual master, we kind of develop love towards Krishna, right? And then Rukmini is further continuing it. My dear lotus-eyed Lord, let Sisupala never touch the hero's portion. What is the hero's portion here? Hero is Krishna, hero's portion is Rukmini. And she is telling Krishna that Shishupala is a villain. I never, and he should never touch the hero's portion, like a jackal stealing that which is meant for a lion. Right? So here Rukmini is saying, Krishna, you take me, like a lion, and I don't want the jackal Shishupala to touch. Right? Oh, unconquerable one. Tomorrow, and in fact, she even further telling Krishna to actually make the process so easy. So it's something like this. When devotees wants to serve Krishna, they try their best not to give any difficulties to Krishna, right? They don't even want Krishna to get disturbed. If you look at today's morning harati, right, what we did when we after morning harati, when we offered the dry fruits, just because Krishna gets up, and then we give him harati, and immediately after that he feels so, what do you call, hungry, right? So we want to give him something to eat, so we put some dry fruits there and then close the curtain. Why did we close the curtain? We don't want Krishna to get disturbed while he was eating. We don't want him to get disturbed by looking at, because Krishna is so merciful. When he looks at his devotees, he cannot stop himself, right? He can't even focus on eating food. That's why even when Yashodama used to feed Krishna with her hand, she used to feed him in a an isolated place, because she doesn't want others to put drishti, or she doesn't want Krishna to get disturbed by other things, right? So what happens is, when we offer prasadam, we put curtains and everything, because we don't want Krishna to get disturbed by looking at the devotees and their cravings towards Krishna. So like that, here Rukmini is also making the path so clear for Krishna to come and take her. So she's further continuing here. You may wonder, how can I carry away Rukmini from the inner chambers of the palace without killing her relatives? Right? So if Krishna wants to take Rukmini from the chamber of the king, he had to kill so many people. Bhishmika, right? So what she's saying here is, on the day before the marriage, I will be taken in a grand procession to the temple of Durga outside the city. This is the custom, right? So they take the bride, they take the bride to the temple, Durga's temple outside the city, in a grand procession. So Rukmini is giving all the hints on how Krishna actually can take. Oh, lotus-eyed one, if I cannot obtain your mercy, she's further continuing. See, I mean, how the story is going on. Initially, she praised Krishna, and then she said why she has built affection to Krishna, and then she said that what her desire is. The desire is for her to be carried over by Krishna, and then even she further went over to tell him where she will be available to be kidnapped or taken over, and further she is telling what will happen if Krishna doesn't take her. See, I mean, this is the clarity a devotee of Krishna will have, or a person who has built affection on Krishna has, right? Why Krishna? Why, in the sense, like, why means, I mean, Krishna is so beautiful, his name, form and pastimes are so beautiful. Why Krishna? And what she wants from Krishna, that is, she wants to marry Krishna. And how? Why? What? How? And then what will happen if that how doesn't happen, right? She's further continuing, oh lotus-eyed one, if I cannot obtain your mercy, I shall give up my life while performing several austerities. After hundreds of lives passed in this way, it is my hope that I may be able to receive your favor, right? So in this six things, Rukmini is very clearly saying, I heard about you like this, so that I love you so much, so that I wanted to marry you. And if you want to marry me, this is the way you can actually marry me. You can come to that Durga's temple where the grand procession is going on, take me over from there without killing anyone, and after that you marry me. If you're not marrying, this is what is going to happen. See the kind of clarity that someone has, Rukmini has, to marry Krishna, right? So after telling all this, the Brahmana then said, this is the confident, again, Brahmana, this is a confidential message. Why is this confidential? Because Krishna had to perform by kidnapping Rukmini. It is not like he is going going for a fight and war and then kill so many people and bring her. It is not like that. This is a confidential message from Rukmini. Now please consider what must be done and do it at once. He is not saying that do as per Rukmini is asking. That's why, we always pray when we do prayers in the groups, right? For someone's birthday or someone's marriage anniversary or someone's thing, right? We always pray. We always say, Krishna willing, he should give devotional service. Krishna willing, he should give good health. Krishna willing, he should give good appliances. Krishna willing, he should clear all the paths on the progression towards spiritual life. Right here, the Brahmana is also having so much clarity, and then he is saying that please consider what must be done and do it at once. He's not saying do as what Rukmini is saying. Right? So this is the clarity that Brahmana has, right? And after this, Krishna comes during the procession and takes and kidnaps Rukmini and takes over. And after that, I think we know about the story, right? So that's how he kidnaps and then marries Rukmini. And then after that, it even goes where he actually had to kill Shishupala for his 100th mistake, right? Why? I mean, one of the greatest sin that Shishupala did is, Rukmini is goddess Lakshmi, and he should not look at Lakshmi, right? That is one of the biggest mistake. The 100 mistakes that he has done is something else, but on the other hand, the greatest mistake that he has done is he became ready to marry Rukmini. That because of that greatest mistake, he had to suffer, and then Krishna leaves his chakra and then kills Shishupal at the end, right? So what I'll do is I'll pause here or I'll stop here. It's been an hour. I prepared content only for 1 hour, so I will stop here. And if I have spoken anything wrong, please forgive me. I'm sure that I might have spoken so many wrong things, or probably I would like people on the call who are like great devotees to correct me and then show your mercy and blessings on me. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any comments or want to share something, please go ahead, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Nice session, Prabhuji. You have taken a lot of time to give background of Muchkunda, and then you entered into the letter.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Udayananda Prabhu, you still have more time if you want to continue. It's only 8:20.
Prabhuji, I prepared only 1 hour session, Prabhuji.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, excellent, Prabhuji. This story I have not heard, in the sense the background. And
I know, Prabhuji, you're trying to encourage me. Thank you so much.
No, Prabhuji, seriously. It's, I think it is in 10th canto. Right, Prabhuji? It's in 10th canto. 10th and canto. Beautiful story in the background. It's also very good. And this, this letter, I think we heard once in a while somebody, but not in this much detail. Thank you very much. And the way you connected bhakti with the love letter and also the Michkunda's pastime is very good. Very nice.
Prabhuji, please add, Prabhuji. Please, anyone you want to add something, please add, Prabhuji, in terms of how we can actually progress in devotional service, things like that. Please feel free to add, Prabhuji. Praveen Prabhu, Akinchanapri Prabhu, Ayar Prabhu, Anandaram Prabhu. Please go on adding. I mean, I don't want to read all the names. Please go on adding if anyone. Lavish Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Excellent session. Thank you very much.
Satyadev Prabhu was saying you're going to Suprafast. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. As usual, you're rapid fire round, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. I'm in material world, Prabhu. Even past tense also I'm running. So what to speak?
Prabhuji, I think sorry, I missed a couple of did you explain about why Krishna appeared in his four-hand Vishnu form to the Kalayavana? Why did he appear like that?
Yeah, when I was contemplating on that, I try to understand that these when you want to give mercy to devotees, you might want to appear in a two-handed form like Krishna because they get attracted. And when you don't want to give someone mercy, Krishna comes in the other form, right, Prabhuji? Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, where actually he's going for fight. And even if you look at Kalyavana, didn't get liberation because Krishna didn't kill him. So Krishna didn't want to give him liberation. In Krishna's form, so he appeared in.
But at least getting an appearance as a four-handed Vishnu form is itself it's a big boon, right? I mean, generally, we heard that a lot of sadhus who are doing tapasya for millions of years, they can't even get a glimpse of Lord's even a toenail. So at that time, like that, if you look at that way, this Rakshasa who is able to see the four-handed Vishnu form, and so what is the such a mercy given to this Kalayavana to Lord has given him like appearance as a four-handed.
Yeah, Prabhuji, everything is like a mathematical equation, Prabhuji. So without we doing it, I mean, if Krishna wants, he can actually wipe off all the balancing equations and all. But otherwise, they must have, I mean, I don't know the past of Kalyavana. He might have done a lot of penance and austerities. For that matter, if you look at when he was giving liberation to Muchkunda also, he didn't say that, you're liberated. He said that as a Kshatriya, you've killed so many people, so you have to undergo penance and austerities. That's when, the Gardamuni's prediction is going to come into true.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably, Praveen Prabhu, you might want to add something or give some light on it. This is what my understanding is.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I also don't know much, but Prabhuji, yes, you are right in the sense every story with every demon or a devotee has a past, Prabhuji. We don't know that, but probably some other Tattvadarshis can tell us. But definitely Muchukunda has a past, and definitely Kalyavana has a past, which he did a lot of penances to see the 400 form. And it is all the plot of Lord Krishna, even to show his 400 form, because, that is how he shows mercy to everyone, right? He shows mercy to devotees to, uphold them and then give them the deliverance. And the same way he gives the, mercy to demons in a way of burning their karma or delivering them as the same way. That's what it's told in Mahabharata. Just by his glance, he delivered the complete opposite set of just by his glance. And every one of them definitely would have done that kind of karma where they were brought to the battlefield, and so that Krishna can see them. That is not an ordinary thing even to get that, the benediction. So it's in the big scheme of things, as Lilananda Prabhu says, if you just see a line that is drawn with a pen, it is, if you look at the microscope, it's like consider small dots. And those dots are like the births of people. And we would be, at some point in time, we just see the speck of the dot. And but Krishna can see the whole line, and he knows our past, present, and future. That's what I just my humble.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's an equation that balances at the end of the day, Prabhuji. Sunil Prabhu, you want to add something? You raised hand.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I think the way you narrate story is really, really, really awesome, and it is like you engage the audience very well. And also, I think the other aspect that I think it was touched on, the connection to not just the story, but how we can apply and look at from our own devotional standpoint, right? Small things here and there. So I think that is really good. One question that I have is you said that Muchukunda was asked by Krishna and said that you need to perform austerities because you have killed so many people and so. But when on the other hand, when we say that as a Kshatriya, if you are killing many people and so, then it is not a sin. Okay, so how we can relate that?
Actually, Prabhuji, if you look at here, this is even Kshatriyas have to perform austerity and penance at the end of their life, Prabhuji. So even if you look at any kings for that matter, everyone takes austerity and penance. It's something like Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa, Prabhuji. So what happens is during Grihastha, the Kshatriyas do a lot of things. And with that bent of mind, you cannot go to Goloka, Prabhuji. So to unlearn, it's something like this. Say, I mean, I recently joined Microsoft, right? So here in Microsoft, everything is written in C#, but I was from a Java background. So what happens is you want to write in some other language, you have to unlearn the existing language. Otherwise, you try to implement those, they might work, but some parts they might not also work. So you have to first come down to a level where you unlearn anything and then start learning, right? So it is very difficult to go into Swadha Sattvaguna for those people who are in Sattvaguna. So Sattvaguna people have to come down to a stage of unlearning and then start with Swadha Sattvaguna. So Kshatriyas, when they kill so many people, that bloodsheds and all will be there. And I was in fact told by one of my god brothers are, he's called Anand Bhagwandas. He said that, when there happens a disturbance, you should not look at the disturbance as a disturbance because that leaves a scare in your mind. So when you're talking little fiercely with a person, when a person is talking fiercely with you, you should not react, rather you should respond as a devotee, so that the scare doesn't hit in your soul, because a scare which is sitting in your mind, that gets carried over for millions of births. So what to speak of Kshatriyas, Prabhu? Kshatriyas kill so many people. So when they kill so many people, those scares and even for that matter, Pandavas went for austerity and penance at the end, right? They walk, the 5 Pandavas, they walk over to Vanaprastha, right? So what happens is they perform Vanaprastha and Sannyasa to actually clear off all these scares that we have in our mind. Because the soul gets every bad thing that comes to us, either we do or someone else does on us, that creates a scare on your soul. To actually remove all those scares, the Kshatriyas also have to undergo austerity and penance, Prabhuji. So it's a process of unlearning so that you become ready to be learned towards Suddha Sattva.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah,
Yes.
understood. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Anandaram, Prabhu. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your lecture.
Thank you.
Just some reflections, Prabhu. One
Sure,
is that even Goddess Lakshmi has to resort to abject surrender when it comes to the
Yes,
Supreme
yes.
Lord.
Yes.
Even her attitude is of complete abject surrender, and
Yes.
without even thinking, she writes that letter, knowing the person.
Yes.
She writes that letter. And
Yes.
so at least it's a message also for us, the kind of attitude that, we need to build, and still so much of distance to cover.
Yes,
My
Prabhuji.
question to you, Prabhuji, is that was Rukmini aware, being Goddess Lakshmi, was she aware of Krishna and who he was beforehand itself? Or was it just a pastime? This is just a pastime just for us as a more as a instruction for us devotees.
You absolutely said, Prabhuji. You rightly caught the knot. So it is a pastime for us to understand. For that matter, when Krishna comes into this material world, he performs all those pastimes for us. Now, whether Rukmini knew that she is a goddess of fortune, and whether she knew that Krishna is none other than Lord Vishnu, in that pastime, I mean, as far as what I have heard from my Guru Maharaj, when they assume the pastimes, they might be knowing it, but we don't have visibility over it, Prabhuji. So it's like when they perform pastimes, for example, if you ask me, does Krishna know that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he was beaten up by Yashodamai? So he wanted to perform, so he pretends to us as he has forgotten, but he's the knower of everything. So when they perform pastimes, it is for us. But I think they may be aware of it. So yeah, I mean, whatever knowledge that you have, I'm at the same level, Prabhuji, in this case. So I'm again confused with the answers that I hear from different lectures. Some people say that they are already aware, but for us they do it. And some people say that when they assume this form, they completely forget about their original identity. Otherwise, they cannot perform their pastimes. Right?
Thank you, Prabhu. You used a very nice example of Krishna getting punished by Yashodama. And perhaps, I don't know, maybe other senior devotees can add, when the Supreme Lord descends along with all his other the demigods and the devotees and everybody else comes along. So perhaps they know their roles also.
Yes. In fact, Prabhupada says, Prabhuji, once Prabhupada was asked a question by one of the persons. They asked that question that, Prabhupada, do you know the future, past and present? Then Prabhupada's answer to that devotee or the person is, I know to the extent what Krishna wanted me to know. And on the other hand, if you further ask me, does Prabhupada do not know? There happens another situation where Prabhupada, when he was in Damodar temple, he comes out from his reading room, and then one devotee sees him in a garland made up of Kadamba flowers. And then the devotee asks, Prabhupada, this is not a season for Kadamba flowers, because I don't see any Kadamba tree giving Kadamba flowers. Where did you get this? Then if you listen to the answer, you will get surprised. Prabhupada says, Balram gave this to me. Now, if you come back and ask me, Prabhupada being Nitya Siddha, does he know present, past, and future? He may know, because he is interacting with Balaram directly. When he can interact directly with the Supreme Lord, can't he know the future, Prabhuji?
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, any other Prabhujis wants to throw some light on the reflections Anandaram Prabhuji has given? Please feel free to add, Prabhuji. Satya Prabhu. Okay. So if we don't have any further questions, Praveen Prabhu, we can end the session over here.
Hare Krishna, Jan Prabhu, thank you very much for the wonderful session. And thank you very much for all the supporting comments and additions to this wonderful session, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you to you, Prabhu. You have been relentlessly conducting these sessions.
Hare Krishna. Nothing to say. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalptarabhisya Ananta Putti Vaishnava Vrindaki Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.